You know, so if you guys follow me on Facebook, you know that my bathroom sink was plugged. And of course, a ton of people messaged me, try this, try that. I've tried everything. Everything. So I was just about to leave. An old buck was right beside on the driveway, and he waves to me and he walks over, and I guarantee he wishes he didn't walk over. Rolled down the window. I said, "Hey, Buck." We were talking. I said, "It's a bugger of a thing. I can't get this sink unplugged. I'm going to have to call a plumber." And of course, it's not the end of the world. You got to call a plumber. You call a plumber. I mean, I kicked the pipe and broke it. Right? You know about that. Again, if you follow me. So, when you're done feeling stupid, you realize you got to go fix the pipe. And it really wasn't a difficult fix. Even I, who is the worst at fixing anything that doesn't have four legs and eats hay. That's not true. Cows eat hay. I'm sure giraffes eat hay. You know what I'm getting at. I am a very one-dimensional person. I can't change my oil. Everybody's like, "Oh, of course you can change your oil. You just gotta..." No, I go to Mr. Lube like everyone else. I don't do work on my car. I literally gave my lawnmower to Buck because he would come over occasionally when we were away and cut the grass. So I literally gave him my lawnmower for free. I'm just not a technical person. I suppose a good portion is that I don't want to be, but I'm not a technical person. So I'm in the driveway. Buck comes over. He goes, "Oh, I got a snake." Okay. And he's working away at the drain, and then we filled it again. That drain has drank more Drano in the last week. My God, gallons of it. And I put another one in. Yes, we tried hot water. Yes, we tried vinegar and baking soda. I know everybody's going to did you try this? Anything you can think of that isn't a moon rock crushed into dust, we have tried it. Anyway, filled it up and I left it. We'll see if it drains. If it doesn't, I'm going to have to break down and call the plumber. But that's the way it is. Anyway, big night last night at the track. Good day at the sale. I talked to everybody. Now, after the sale, we did sell Purple Aura. After the sale, we did sell Adrenaline Rush. I'm actually just concluding that now. Adrenaline Rush for pretty well close to claiming price. And, Adrenaline Rush, I didn't really care. He's gonna do good in that class, but I need everybody to understand you can't take any of that for granted, because if for whatever reason, if a couple of tough horses drop in that class or doesn't, heaven forbid, it stops filling, he's a 7 claimer after that. That's what he is. And everybody's like, no, he can do it. He can't do it in any other class in this solar system except for the class he's in right now and a 7 claimer. Just so we're clear. And that is non-negotiable. That is complete, factual, accurate truth. So you have him in the class, and he can do in this class till the end of the year. But at the end of the year, he is 100% a 7 claimer at that point. But you could say to yourself, well, we just race him till the end of the year and put him in a 7th. Well, yeah, we could do that. But he is a horse. The class could not fill. The class could get tough, in which case he's a 7 claimer. Now, we can get claiming price, pretty well claiming price. It was $12,200 US. It's like $16,000, $17,000 Canadian for the horse right now. Right now. That's what we can do right now. So, it makes the most sense just to turn the horse over. And a lot of people are like, well, he's winning, he's doing... Well, he's not always winning. He's doing good. I'll give him that. And as I said, of all the stuff that went on yesterday, the least of my worries was Adrenaline Rush. I think we got paid fair market. And somebody said, well, no, we got robbed on a couple of... No, we didn't. We didn't get robbed on any of them yesterday. They were all fair market for the most part, or above. We had $17,000 for Stolen Dance. Okay mare, but didn't get robbed. And as far as the other horses go, it might have been a couple of them might have seemed a little lower end fair market, but the fact that we didn't take them to Harrisburg, roll the dice, and have to pay these exorbitant commissions is fair. We get 4% from Dave, I believe, is what it cost us. Plus I don't even know if there is an entry fee. It might just be $4,000. It might just be 4%. Anyway, when you factor everything in, the fact that it's done today, right? It's done today. The fact that we don't have to ship them to Harrisburg and pay commissions to the consignments, pay commissions to the sale, sell the horses for whatever. I think we did, all in all, we did pretty good. The only horse out of the entire group that we're going to end up retaining out of the entire fiasco, well, it wasn't a fiasco, out of the entire sale yesterday was Will to Win Hanover. And, you know, it's funny, I had said to a couple of our clients that I can't believe you wouldn't sell her for that. Well, that's because you don't understand what she's worth. That's why. She's probably one of the better bred fillies that will be offered up for sale for the most part, and certainly for what she was bringing yesterday. And as I said to everybody else, I'm not a breeder, but I know what horses are worth, and I can see what they sell for. And Will to Win Hanover in foal to, say, Walner, and I said this yesterday, Walner, Chapter 7, whatever, is worth a fortune if you walk her through the ring of Harrisburg next year. I don't mind paying the commissions on a horse that's going to go for that kind of money. And for those of you who don't think it's enough, well, it's pretty simple. Sell your shares. I'll be happy to buy them. And then we can revisit this next year, and we'll see which side of the I told you so fence I'm standing on. One thing is for certain. I wasn't in a big hurry to sell her for $88,000. Now I'm not in a hurry at all. Now, when it comes to a number of our clients all said, oh, I want to keep the baby and raise it, or keep the baby and sell it. I said it yesterday in a video, and I'm going to say it again just so everybody is 1,000% clear. 1,000% clear. We are not keeping the baby, and we are not selling the baby. Will to Win Hanover will be sold in full. That will be the plan. Always was partially the plan. It will remain the plan. And that isn't meant for anybody in particular. And there may have been 4 or 5 clients that messaged me asking the same routes. Can we keep the foal? Can we sell the foal and keep the mare? The answer to all those is no. And we can go over it. I'll give you the Coles notes on that. Very simple. We are one of the biggest volume buyers in racing. We're not selling horses. And I'm sorry, I'm not keeping the horse because I'll break it down for you real quick. To retain, to keep and not sell Will to Win Hanover for around $100,000. Let's just use the number 100. To not sell her for 100, then get her in full to say, let's just use Chapter 7. $35,000 US is the stud fee on Chapter 7. So you're looking at pretty much for the most part 50 Canadian. So now you have retained the mare and the foal with the stud fee for $150. That's not counting any of the fees that would be attributed to that mare in housing or that foal in housing. So keep the horse a year, you're looking at roughly, let's just say another 15. Let's just say 20. 20 just to keep the mare in foal. Now you get the horse in the barn for 20. That may not even be an accurate number. So now you're at 170. You got to pay to stake it, train it down. Both will be done. Staking would be heavy. Training it down for another 8 months after you break it, or 10 months. Now you're well over 200,000 Canadian to race the first foal from Will to Win Hanover. The first foal. If that foal doesn't turn out good, you're out $200,000 on that foal alone. And you might say, well, at that point, then you sell the mare. Oh, super. People are generally looking for things that appear broken. Doesn't work that way. And it sounds great. On paper, you might be able to convince yourself. But you have to draw a line in the middle of that sheet and write on both sides of that fence. And I'm sorry, I'm not gambling that kind of money. And you may want to, but we are not. And that is that. So, Will to Win Hanover, I truly believe, is worth more than what we turned down for yesterday. And for those of you who want to sell your shares, you might say, well, I don't think she's worth that. Okay. All I have to do, I can get a printout from Dave Reed, the last live bid. And this was a sticking point for people yesterday. When we put a reserve on a horse, so Massive Profit was $25,000 yesterday. I thought it was 24, but no, it was 25. So they took him to 24 and left him because he's a sell on 25, right? That doesn't mean there's a bid for $24,000 there at all. Not even in the least. The last live bid, I believe, was $21,000, if I'm not mistaken, for Actually, I know it was $21,000 for massive profit. That was the last live bid on the horse. Now, all I have to do is ask Dave, okay, what was the last live bid on Will to win Hanover? Because the system brought her to 86. Doesn't mean that somebody bid 86,000 on her. And that's an easy enough printout to get. So, any of our clients that want out or maybe think that I'm crazy and she's not worth that, I'll happily buy you out for the last live bid on Will to win Hanover. And as I said, we can or cannot, it's up to you, revisit this in a year and we'll see which one of us was right. I'm as confident as I've ever been. And listen, I'm not delusional. She is worth less than half that as a racehorse. There's no arguing that. She's an okay, she went in 57 and the non-winners of 4. She's probably worth 40. She's probably worth what the other fillies were. On paper. She's getting up there and wins. She never made the money they did. For us, anyway. So as a racehorse, she's not worth anywhere near that. As a broodmare, she's worth quite a bit more. So that's my take on Will to win Hanover. That's my take on what took place yesterday. I was happy for the most part with the sales. Sure, I would have loved to get $60,000 for Sweet on Pete, but I'm glad she's going to Sealster Farms because we can watch and maybe bid on her babies one day. But we're not keeping Sweet on Pete and Purple Ore. We can't keep them all, right? Can't keep them all. So that was the sale. Now we head into the racing portion of yesterday. Mark was not happy about going to drive in the mud, but he went, took his daughter, Kiki, trick-or-treating with Addie Bear and Griffin, James's son. Came trick-or-treating with them. Ava went with her friends, and Ollie went with his friends. And the little ones. Oh, and Lincoln, Curtis's boy, also went trick-or-treating with them. So I hate Halloween, but it's nice to see the kids. It's nice to see the kids hanging out together and going trick-or-treating. They're all happy when they get home. Addie was trying to hide candy in her pajamas to take it to bed with her. But it was a great time. It was a great time, but I had a better time sitting at home watching the races. Now, a little upset with J.K. Mickey Mantle. Not J.K. Mickey Mantle, the horse. Upset with the driver, James. And I think it was the first race of the night. And on these inclement nights, you don't know if the front end's going to hold up, and you don't know. It's weird. You would think as a driver, you'd be like, okay, mud, fog, rain, check. All right, in the past, the track has not been front end friendly on nights like this, but sometimes it's quite the opposite. It is front end friendly, and it's weird that there's no way to actually know. Obviously, James thought that maybe the front end was the place to be, especially at 2 to 5 with J.K. Mickey Mantle. Get over the half a little fast, 54-4, and I'm certain that's what sealed his fate out of the 9 hole, 26, 54-4. That'll do it. But that is that. So obviously a little deflated after the first race and might have been talking to myself. There may have been some curse words under my breath. There may have been some expletives, I think. But that was it for the rest of the night. Obviously, we'll run through who didn't perform as well. Red Overbach. Honestly, I don't think that's the way he likes to be driven. And, Mark tried to leave out of there with him. I know Mark wanted to race him on the front end. But he can't get out of there as fast as those other horses. He get looped by 2 horses, one of them being the favorite, heading into the first turn. Now, at this point, you guys know Red Overbach can be a little warm. Now he's got him fired up, and he's got 2 horses in front of him. I think Mark had to move him when he did. The only problem was he's not a sprinter, that big red horse. He's more of a grinder, and he is a big green colt still. He can be a little rude in the face. Now you've ruffled his feathers leaving the gate, made him a little angry, and then had to move him in the first turn, and then I think he ended up just making a break. I just think it was more the horse, more the situation than anything else. We scoped him after. There was nothing really found. Now, he's got a little bit of a lazy palate, that horse. There was no redness. There was no bruising. There was no blood. There was no mucus. So I think more than anything, it was just the trip. Now, he has been running down a little bit, too. Does that mean his front feet are hurting him? I would say, now he always did. He always wore a vet wrap. There was always a little dirt on the vet wrap. But now he's kind of scuffing it up. So I think it's worth having a real close look at his feet. But Dominic has also moved. We talked about it the other day. Putting a little more grab on him behind, standing him up. Maybe the next step would be to put degree pads on him behind and see if that helps. The obvious question lingering is, why is he running down worse now than before? Is it the track? Is he taking a little weight up front? These are all questions Dominic's going to have to answer. And him and I, we talked about it briefly last night, but that's going to be his wheelhouse. He'll get to the bottom of that. And then White Tiger, I know it said the fastest quarter. When it popped up, I'm like, it didn't appear to me, like it was in the fog, but it didn't appear to me he quite got to the quarter yet. From time to time, and then when I look how the math played out the rest of the race, you're not going to rev a horse like White Tiger up 26 and go half 56 and 3. 0% chance that will happen. I think Mark said the quarter flashed up before I got to the quarter. I don't know what to tell you. We were over there quick, but it flashed up before we got there. Now we scoped him after. There was quite a bit of mucus there. There was even some blood there. But again, you guys know by now, anytime you hear mucus, especially with horses that have a tendency to bleed a little bit, they run hand in hand. So, wow, this road's bumpy. I keep forgetting how bumpy this road can get. So looking at Tigers, or listening to the vet and Dominic and Amy talk to me about the scope of the horse, it's pretty clear that 1 + 1 = 2. Mark it out of there a little quick with them, regardless if the quarter was 26 and 1 or 27 flat. You get out of there quick with them. The half wasn't as hot, but still hot enough. And he's not that type of horse to rev him up at the gate. Once in a while, you can get him out of there like that. And it's handier if you do get him out of there like that. But he's not a boss, right? He isn't the horse to run the front end and beat up on the other horses. He's the horse to leave, sit, come on late, or float out of the gate, come hard in the last turn, clear to the front, open up 4 or 5, and win by a length and a half or so. That's kind of been White Tiger's MO his whole life. And today that was not the case. Today it was more, or last night was more, leave hard. Then one of the favorites come and kind of stopped in front of him a little bit, but he was already on his way backwards at that point. And then you scope him after, and you're like, oh, well, that's why. Mucus and blood. That'll do the trick every time. So, as I said to you guys last week, I didn't think it was a great, 2 weeks ago, it wasn't a great race for him. We gave him a week off. He runs hot, this horse. And what I mean by that is sometimes he's really good, but when he's bad, he appears really bad. And, last night's race, it just seemed like he was lost, right? That's what it seemed like. And it's hard to tell in the fog. We couldn't absorb the entire picture. I'm hearing what Mark's saying. I'm watching the fractions. I'm watching the little numbers on the bottom of the screen also. And he said, no, he was flat halfway around the last turn. And then we scope him. Yes, what Mark is saying, what we are kind of seeing, equated to the scope afterwards. So White Tiger scoped a little sick. Red Overbach blew up. J.K. Mickey Mantle got driven a little hard. Took a dive off Dipper, raced huge. You could see, they told me too that this horse, he'll run away on you. Sometimes Dexter Dunn told me that. Mark had told me he knew the horse well. James told me, he's great on the front, but it's hard to rev him up. Put him in a hole, he said, he could get you in trouble. And this is what we were worried about with Lauren when we raced. This is why we had all the gear on him to race in the amateurs, was because I heard all these horror stories. I got a little glimpse at it last night. He revved Dipper up to get to the front and then went to let the 1-5 or 2-5 shot remove. And there was none of that. It wasn't going to happen. Dipper wasn't going to let him around. And I could tell if Ronnie had to get parked, it would have been a civil war there last night. But that's racing. And the horse raced great. He was second in 52, but beat like a length and a quarter maybe. Raced huge. Going to be a good horse for us over in Ohio. So for the Cross family, for Jane and Ben and Genre. I think Genre owns a piece of him. Congratulations. He seems like he raced really well. And then everybody else won. When do we get to say that? 4 winners last night at Mohawk. And, if J.K. Mickey Mantle had him in a little, if James had driven him a little easier, I think. And that could have been it also. We talk about a couple of horses that were sick. He could have been also. I haven't talked to him. I'm actually at Tamiko right now. I just pulled in because I want to go with the 2 pacing babies. When I look at Harry's Barnet was great last night, but over the last week there were a couple of horses that were a little iffy and scoped a little bit of mucus and blood, and it's not to say that J.K. Mickey Mantle couldn't have also. Absolutely could have. It could have been the half, it could have been the scope, it could have been anything, but at the end of the day, we had 4 winners and a 1-5 horse get beat. So it could have been an incredible night last night. Instead, it was just a very, very, very good night. So we'll dive right into that real quick. How the hell, you always post braid's a little, what I would call rusty. That's a horseman's way of saying he's a little sore in the warm-up. His knees bother him, his feet bother him. He needs to kind of loosen up and jog along. And once we get him jogged along, speaking of jogging along, my God, that's a beautiful horse. I'm going to show you this horse. This is, if she goes another lap, this is Lonely Lakewood. Man, he's a pretty horse. Oh, there's a Sintra sighting. Sintra is here. Let me see. That is Sintra jogging right now in preparation of this weekend. Man, what a year. What a year he's had for us. What a beautiful horse. So there's Sintra. Cindy's out the track now with Lonely Lakewood. So how the hell, just a very, very nice horse. And he's going to be a nice horse for us. Like the stuff that he goes through every week, the stuff that he gets over every week, that should dissipate. I mean, he's only a baby. He's only 3 with very few starts. So I would think whether it's his knees or his feet or anything else, that should dissipate once we do finally. And as I said to you guys, I suspect when it comes time to put corks on this horse, it'll be time to give him time off. He's already proved he's going to be a nice horse for us. He's already took a mark of 55 last night in the mud, trotted in 54. He's just a very, very nice horse. And then he goes out saying Renegade Gypsy. You know, I see a lot of the messages on the board about Renegade Gypsy. Can't wait to see him race at 4 and 5. And I can't help but feel that those are somewhat directed at me. At the end of the day, I told everybody, these horses are going to have to move forward and prove that they're going to be good at 4, or we're going to sell them. I sold Sweet on Pete. We sold Purple Aura. They had too much money and too many wins made. And I just didn't think, especially the fact that they were females and they could be good broodmares, I didn't think that those were horses we should retain. And Renegade Gypsy was on the same time. It was on the same line, right? Here's a horse with 5-6 wins, 80, 90, 100,000 made something. The exact same thing. You have to show me that I can stand behind you and say, we're going to rest that horse in 3, bring it back at 4, knowing we have to race against 4-year-olds and up, knowing we have to race against open-type company horses that may be dropping down. That's shark-infested waters, and it is nowhere near, she's going off the track. It is nowhere near the 3-year-old circuit. 2 totally different universes. But if you can prove it, if you can prove they can do it, then it's a moot point. We don't need to talk about moving horses. We're always on the lookout for good 4-year-olds. Why would we not keep ours? Renegade Gypsy, it's done. It's a moot point. Renegade Gypsy has proven he can race against those types of horses. It's only logical to think at par, it's only logical to think he'll get better. But if he doesn't step forward a centimeter from where he is, he can still do in those classes. And to say that he's not going to be better would be unfair to the horse, at the very least. Unfair to the horse. He's proven that he wants to be a good horse, to win out of the 10 hole, leave, drop in a hole, come first over, second over, 3 wide down the lane, and beat those horses, aged horses. He's already there. It's done. So if those little digs are meant for me, you needn't give them. All I've said was, I'm going to treat every horse the same way. If there's a spot on the roster for you, if there's a place for the horses to fit as 4-year-olds, if you can convince me that that is accurate, we'll keep them. And he's done that. So Renegade Gypsy and Resolute Bay, I know I had fun with Bob, one of our clients. He owns shares in a couple of fractional things. A really nice guy, and buys horse with us every year, buys horse with a number of people, so good for him. And, he had sent me a message about 2 weeks ago saying, where's Resolute Bay? Why is he not racing? I said, well, the class didn't go. And, he said, well, he's going to be short. He's not going to be short. I can tell you he won't be short. Harry Polton is a good horseman, and it's pretty simple. Do what's right for the horse, but make sure they're ready to win when they go to the track. But what I mean by that is make sure they're tight, make sure they're sharp, make sure they're if they need any vet work, it's done. If their shoes, make sure we don't waste races. There's nothing I hate more than that. Don't waste races. Doesn't appear that we wasted any races. Resolute Bay went out last night and just jogged 6 wins in a row for Resolute Bay, and he looks incredible. Again, proving that he belongs also. Very, very happy with Resolute Bay. And again, we talked about this when we broke Resolute Bay, when we brought him along as a baby, when we raced him at 2, and he raced in the Prospect Series because he wasn't even good enough for the grassroots. And those of you trying to convince yourself that there was something other than that, you're wrong. He wasn't good enough for the grassroots at 2 and made a break in the final of the Prospect Series. Then came out at 3 and decided, yes, he did want to be a horse. And man, has he ever stamped that. Looked great last night, a winner in just a fantastic fashion. The horse looked great. So we had Resolute Bay win. We had Renegade Gypsy win. We had... what was the other one James won with? Get beat with J.K. Mickey Mantle. Oh, Locatelli. He was pretty good. Now, I know Mark rolled White Tiger out of there, and you could see, although it was the fog, you could see with the little numbers on the bottom of the screen how the race was shaping up. The 3-horse moved. James was right behind him. White Tiger was now in the 2-hole behind In a Minute Hanover. There wasn't a whole lot of... I thought... I couldn't see the race. But just on the little ticker tape, I was like, yeah, he's probably going to win. That's kind of his trip. But what's so cool about Locatelli is Locatelli can win from the front, and he can win from off the pace. He's ferocious closing on the end of the mile, especially into horses he knows he can pass. And he is deadly on the front end when he gets a little bit of a breather. He's turning into the horse that every single person would like to have. And again, going back to his chart lines, right? Few breaks at the gate. He run on me at the gate. He run on James at the gate. He run on Chris Christopher at the gate. Harry worked on, put a little bit of grab on him. James a little protective of him at the gate. But that will dissipate. He'll come back to springing off the car at some point in the near future. And quite frankly, man, just such a nice horse. He's really turned into what we wanted him to be. He's coming forward. And again, that only accentuates our year thus far, right? We have Patrick the Piranha in Saratoga and Plainridge area. We have King of the North, or left of King of the North. We have Kings County in southern Ohio. Sintra was in the Meadows. He was in PEI. He's now in this barn right here. Locatelli, White Tiger. Then you have the horses coming up behind them. Now, what I was trying to draw a line between was Locatelli's breaks at the gate and what happened with Eldest Patrick daily. Now, Eldest Patrick is not White Tiger. He's not Locatelli, but he's a good horse. And we did change his shoes behind. We went from a steel egg bar to an aluminum egg bar. And I'm not a big fan of aluminums on horses behind. You can't keep them on there forever. Not generally. And what you'll do is horses that are a little jammy behind, the few of those of you that are horsemen out there, you see the little jammy behind, you'll see them just wear that outside right off the outside of an aluminum shoe. Like at Mohawk too, with this surface at Mohawk, 2 starts max, you'll go right through an aluminum shoe. So I'm interested to see how he's going to do. I actually pulled in today too because I want to train Eldest Patrick a little bit. I'm not really going to be able to tell you if he's much better going a mile in 2:20, but I want to get a feel for how he is with those shoes on also. So we had 4 winners last night. We had How the Hell. We had Renegade Gypsy, Resolute Bay, and Locatelli. 4 big guns, and the best thing about that is that none of them really have to move that far. I think Resolute Bay still fits the same class. How the Hell definitely fits the same class. Locatelli has to move up, but that only allows, hopefully they can move some of those horses into an open situation and then separate that, and White Tiger can race in a little bit lower class. That would be helpful. Now, they've talked about putting claimers on all things. We didn't talk about Sailor last night. Obviously, James got away 8th, finished 8th or something. Tried at 55, come 28. A decent line, something like that. Maybe it was 56, I don't know. But they're going to start putting claimers on all those classes. So, Non-Winners of 5,000, I think, is going to have a 35 claimer on it. That's where Sailor's going. And that's a class he can do in. Can't do in a couple above. He just can't go in there, but he can do in that non-winners of 5,000 class. So it's a good spot for him to be. We put Eldie's Patrick in a 50 claimer that's hooked on to, it's for 3 and 4 year olds. So he's good till the end of the year. 3 and 4 year olds, 50 claimer plus allowances, like 62,000. That's no cakewalk. But if Eldie's Patrick comes back to where Eldie's Patrick was before we stop with him, he's easily the best horse in that class. The horses that would be in there is like How the Hell, is Red Overbach will be another horse that will probably funnel into that class. His allowances bring him to 75,000 Canadian. So lots of paths starting to open up in Ontario. I've been working with the race office just to figure out who can stay, who has to go, you know, what they need, what we can bring in. They told me they need pacing fillies, you know, 3-year-olds with 2 or 3-year-olds. Now, there won't be many 2-year-olds come along, but let's say 3-year-olds with less than 20,000 made. That type of spectrum is where they're looking for some horses to fill some classes. So I'm glad that that dialogue has opened up with the race office, and we'll be looking for in the near future, you know, maybe that 3-year-old filly, you know, kind of a flying under the radar, got some speed, got some talent, maybe got some back class, but didn't turn out for the current owners, much like a lot of the trotters we've acquired in the exact same way, but with pacers. A horse like maybe like JK Mickey Mantle on the filly side, right? That's the type of horse we're going to be looking for over the next week or so. We're always going to keep our eye out for trotters also. My God, Cintra's a nice horse. Always going to keep our eyes out for trotters also. But for now, and this was the thing, I want everybody to understand, the horses we sold yesterday, they will be replaced in one form or another. We're going to continue to do what we did last year, seek out horses that will fit our program, will fit in our classes, whether it be here at Mohawk or Northfield Park or the Meadows or even in Dover, anywhere. Southern Ohio, we sent Good As Him down to Stacy and Brett Miller in Southern Ohio, so we're going to race him down there. We're probably going to get another horse with Mark and Melissa Beckwith. So there's lots going on and lots of racing, but we can't ever stay flat-footed, right? And that's why the stable has moved in the much more aggressive way that it has. That's why we sold the horses yesterday, and that's why we'll continue to move horses out that are approaching what I would consider a saturation point. We've talked about this time and time again. Surely you guys understand what I'm getting at by now. Now, Harrisburg sale. I'm at 32 minutes. My apologies. Harrisburg sale coming up this week. Got our eyes on a number of horses. Thank you. I see those buckets starting to, lots of those buckets start to move out. I'm going to be reaching out to a number of you this week to maybe fill the rest of them up. What generally happens is everybody wants a piece of the premier horse. They're just waiting to see the premium horse. You guys are waiting to see who we're going to buy, but you're going to be left out in the cold, because what happens is the people that bought into that lot already will have first dibs on the rest of those shares. So the least of my worries, the very least of my worries, is that premium bucket. Leave it at 50%, leave it at 30%. It's up to you. You do what you want. But I guarantee you, when I buy that horse, when that horse is unveiled, that we purchased at Harrisburg, all those shares will be gone. And I'm certain of that. So I'm glad that is in the works. I'm glad that the top bucket has sold out. Now, I did keep, I think, 5 or 10 lots left for stable people that, you know, we do want to put them on the site for people, but there's no guarantees there either. And then the same goes for the bottom one. I appreciate everybody reaching out and buying those lots. It helps me, right? We are this close to sending all the money to Lexington that we spent. They give us usually 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I'm going to get an email the next day or two saying, knock, knock, knock. By the way, where's that money? Hey, Brian, you got my money? Yeah. So, but this is the first year where it's there. I'm just waiting for it to come in. Now, as we head to Harrisburg, last sale of the year, last push of the year, I just want everybody to, as I said before, be conservative. If you don't think you can be a part of the lots and the buckets, then don't. I mean, there will be shares on the site. There are shares right now on the site for everybody. Quality horses, lots and lots of them still on there. So this year, what we're going to have is by far, again, this year, by far, the strongest lineup, pedigree-wise, that the stable.ca has ever assembled, by far. We will have lots on the stablesca.com, the stable.ca main page. We'll have lots our shares for sale on there for a while. And we are heading to Harrisburg with, my confidence is growing. So I would appreciate if everybody wanted to clean those up. That would make my job easier. But super excited about going to Harrisburg. My father, Big Fred's going to make an appearance at Harrisburg. We are going to have our show. Mark McKelvey's locked in. Curtis is locked in. We're on our way. They'll be coming down Sunday. We'll be doing a ton of videos for you guys all throughout the week. The only difference is, this year, again, this is the second time we're going to do this show. So this year is the first year for the shows. Lexington was a fantastic hit. Harrisburg's going to be cool because the sale will be on while we're doing the show. So you will get literal real time, in the realest time update when we buy each and every horse. So that will be super, super cool. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to get out now. I'm going to go train my boy, LD's Patrick, a little bit. I'm going to go with the two pacers here at Debbie's barn. We're going to put the hobbles on them for the first time today. And I'll reach out to you guys later on today. We got a couple racing today, I think, don't we? Yes, we do. We do have a couple racing today. It's going to be tough to outdo yesterday. A great day at the office. 4 winners at Mohawk. A second with Dipper in Ohio. Everything looks good. The sale was decent. It's a very gloomy but a very good day here in Ontario. Take care.